Good afternoon, everyone. It is good to see some familiar names. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dominique McCoy, and I'm the Associate Director of Engagement for the To&Through project. On behalf of my colleagues at To&Through and the UChicago Consortium on School Research, I'd like to welcome you all to today's discussion. So our conversation today actually builds off a presentation that we had yesterday that centered around the new release of our report, Navigating the Maze, Understanding CPS Graduates' Paths Through College. Just as a reminder, if you were not able to join us yesterday, we have links to this report here on our website. I would definitely encourage you to take a look. We will also be having a recording of yesterday's webinar. I think is currently available on YouTube and will be available on our website in coming days as well. Before we get started, for those that weren't able to join, I do want to provide us with a little bit of background just to help frame our conversation for today. So in many ways, this report is an extension of a lot of the work, prior work that is focused on understanding and working to improve college access and success outcomes for thousands of CPS college graduates that are moving through our post-secondary systems every year. And in a lot of ways, from our prior research, we know that students are graduating from high school. We know a lot about where they first enroll. We also know a lot about whether students are earning a college credential in 6 years or not. However, an open question these past couple of years has been, what is happening to students in between these years of immediate high school graduation, immediate enrollment, and 6 years later. And so that was really the guiding question for this report. And while there are many takeaways, there are a few that I want to call our attention to today. In this report, we began unpacking this question by looking at 6 years of college enrollment, non-enrollment, and completion patterns for approximately 63,000 CPS students who graduated high school between 2010 and 2012. Specifically, we looked at when students stopped out from college, how often they stopped out, the types of transitions students made between 2-year and 4-year institutions, and degree completion within that 6-year span. And some of what we found, I think first, that the notion of a direct pathway, being continuously enrolled at the same institution for 4 to 6 years through degree completion, while still being the most likely pathway to a degree, is actually not reflective of the reality for a lot of the CPS students that were included in the analysis. We found that for many students, their pathways included transitions between institution types. So we saw that a significant portion of 2-year enrollees were transferring to 4-year colleges. We saw that a significant portion of 4-year enrollees were transferring to 2-year colleges. We also found that stopping out or taking a semester off was both very common and consequential for CPS graduates. And while the majority, a third of students who actually stopped out actually returned to school after 1 semester, we also found that these transitions still led to a lower likelihood of degree completion. And through our analysis, we were also able to identify over 6,000 distinct pathways that students took along their post-secondary journeys. And ultimately, in a lot of ways, these findings just help to illustrate the sheer complexity and variety of pathways facing CPS graduates once they enter the post-secondary systems. And I think really left us with a lot of questions around, just how can our system continue to evolve and adapt to better meet the needs of CPS graduates in pursuit of their post-secondary goals. So I want to provide all of that framing, but there is a ton for everyone on this call to dig into in the report and the accompanying resources that we shared yesterday. So really would encourage everyone to take a look at those. But honestly, today is really about acknowledging that as a descriptive research project, the report alone will never fully be able to capture the complexity and lived experiences that are represented in the data. And today, while I don't think we're gonna, I think it's maybe too much to promise that we're gonna have all the answers. We do think we can make some progress on that today by turning to our panel of experts. And so we've brought together a really exciting panel of CPS graduates who have experienced some of this complexity firsthand as they've navigated their own post-secondary journeys. While our panelists have attended a variety of institutions, a common thread for each of them is that they've moved on from their initial post-secondary choice and have found alternative institutions or other opportunities to continue to follow their passions and make progress towards their goals. So with that, let's go ahead and meet them. So I'm going to introduce each of our panelists, share a little bit about their pathways, but I also, to get some help introducing these amazing young people to you all today, we also reached out to actually some of their former advisors to gather some of their reflections around what they admire about our panelists and why they are excited about their future. So I would like to share a few of those reflections as well as a brief description as we're welcoming our panelists. With Alexandro Sanchez. Alexandro is a 2020 graduate of Eric Solario Academy High School. Alexandro initially enrolled at City Colleges. However, after his first semester, he began to explore different options to achieve his career aspirations. He is currently a Year Up program participant, training to enter the field of information technology, and aspires to become an IT administrator. We asked Alexandro's One Goal program director, Jacob Kaplan, to reflect on Alexandro, and he said, "What I appreciate about Alexandro is that he is humble enough to recognize that he cannot go through life totally on his own. He values the time others are willing to give to him and always approaches others with respect and a desire to find common ground. He is incredibly kind, and he puts the needs of others ahead of his own. However, what I admire most about him is his ability to bounce back when things don't initially go his way. Every time he faced adversity, he thought deeply about what he wanted, took the advice of others, and followed through on his commitments." Thank you, Alexandro, for joining us. Please help me welcome Alexandro. Next up, we have Arthur Wells. Arthur is a 2017 graduate of Percy Julian High School. After high school, Arthur initially enrolled at Valparaiso before transferring between multiple campuses at City Colleges of Chicago. Arthur is currently enrolled at DeVry, majoring in information technology and cybersecurity, while also working as a lifeguard. Beyond his professional aspirations, Arthur is most passionate about uplifting his community. As an alum of the Fellowship Initiative, we reached out to his former program leader, Rudy Lozano Jr., who's had this reflection to share about Arthur. Arthur is always challenging and questioning the norm, and I love that about him. He is extremely thoughtful, caring, and fiercely loyal. These are all qualities I admire about him. What I'm most excited about for his future is that he's willing to take risks, work hard, and travel the path of least resistance. Once he sets his sights on a goal, there is no stopping him. His work ethic and commitment are quintessential. He's a free spirit, and I'm confident that if he follows his heart, he will not only succeed personally, but will also bring countless friends and loved ones with him. Please help us welcome Arthur. Next up, we have Hakeem Fleming. Hakeem is a 2017 graduate of Al Raby High School. After graduation, Hakeem initially enrolled at Northeastern Illinois. However, after a year, he transferred to Kishwaukee College, a two-year college in DeKalb. Hakeem is currently working at Northwestern Medicine Kishwaukee Hospital and continues to stay involved with the game of basketball that he loves as a coach. Outside of work, Hakeem is passionate about helping others, particularly young people. He serves as a youth development counselor and a youth junior NBA coach. He is interested in continuing to pursue opportunities in the medical field. We asked his former college counselor at Al Raby, Brandon Draper, to reflect on Hakeem, and he said Hakeem always has he's always been a positive and motivated person. He also could have been a stand-up comedian in another life. Hakeem is a smart young man, and I'm proud of his journey. He's not let obstacles stop him from reaching his goals. Hakeem actually also participated in the Fellowship Initiative with Arthur, so in response to the question, what excites him about Hakeem's future, Rudy also added, his future will be determined by his passions. He loves basketball. He loves taking care of people. I know whatever he decides will be centered around his love of people. Thank you for joining us, Hakeem, and welcome. And finally, we have Robin Smith. who is a 2016 graduate at the UChicago Charter School Woodlawn Campus High School. After high school, Robin initially enrolled at Western Illinois University. However, after her first year, she transitioned to Tennessee State, where she is currently enrolled and expecting to graduate with her bachelor's degree in the next year. She has a passion for education and is hoping to join the field as a teacher upon graduation. We asked UChicago Charter Chief Alumni Officer Candace Kiles to reflect on Robin. She said, "When I met Robin, I was immediately drawn to her tenacity and her determination to finish college. At that point, she had transferred from one college to another and was contemplating if another transfer would be necessary. No matter her decision, though, she was going to graduate from college. I admire her staying power. And this grit and passion will do her well as she enters the career of education." All right. Whew. So I hope I sufficiently kind of embarrassed you all. I didn't tell them that I was going to be reaching out, but I hope everybody forgives me. For those that are able, go ahead and turn on your cameras. Looks like Arthur had to jump off for a minute, but I think he's going to be reconnecting. But we will go ahead and get started again. Thank you for joining us. I told our panelists they're going to get sick of hearing me say that, but it really is true. We can't express enough how much we appreciate you all giving up your time to share your perspective, and I know everyone's really excited to hear from you today. So just to get things started, I know a common theme. Again, everybody's coming from different places, has their own unique experiences, but a common theme is that we all experienced, had a initial post-secondary choice and realized that there was a need to make a switch. And so I want to just hear from each of you a little bit about that transition that you made, and really just focusing in on what was something that you felt was missing at your first institution, and when did you realize that you were probably going to need to make a change? Hakeem, if it's all right, I'd love to start with you.
Oh, sure, man. At, at some point, I felt like, it was a change in the institution and everything like that, because, not every institution is built for people to go to and, want to pursue their education. Like, for a prime example, like you have someone that's going to school for business, and not everyone go to school for business and they get a business degree. You have people who have several businesses who don't have a business degree. So but what transitioned for me personally was well, I was, I'm very talented in basketball, and I was playing Division I basketball where I was. And but I also had a plan B. So, I've always been taught, while I was in a TFI program, that, you have a plan A and you have a plan B. And my plan B has always been, to have some type of medical background, because that's something that I'm passionate about, which is why I still work to this day in the hospital setting. I kind of transferred to community college because I realized that, going to a four-year university, it's built for certain people. So I personally don't have nothing against people that go to four-year universities, but in my opinion, I just feel like, sometimes four-year universities can be very expensive, and you can get that same education that you get at a four-year university that you can get at a two-year university.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that if like, you take the time and you figure out, like, what type of programs that each institution have, you'll be able to find yourself actually utilizing the university more than usual. So for a prime example, I was at Northeastern Illinois University. They didn't have a men's team at all. They had intramurals. So they was like, it's basically what you make of it, So I found a group of men that actually wanted to do it, because they had a program set up that they will give us the travel and the needs to do whatever. They'll support us with whatever that we need support with. So I kind of put the team together, and we end up traveling, going down, for the men's tournament, kind of like Division I tournament or whatever. won 1 or 2 games there, kind of advanced to like the second or third round. And it, it's just like that transition from a 4-year university to a 2-year university is definitely different. And I can say, like, living on campus is definitely a good experience. But when you go to your university, you kind of look back and you think, like, look at all of the money that it's kind of like you wasted in a 4-year university that you could have put towards a 2-year university that you could have been finished with in 2 years, have a degree,
So it sounded a little more aligned with kind of your financial needs as well, and then also within your career. Yeah.
Because you just don't want to. You ultimately don't want to come out of school with paying a big amount of debt, and that's definitely a big portion with someone that's coming from a community that don't have it. Don't really have the means of the right type of supportive programs in the area, which that plays a very big part with schooling with young people of color and
absolutely
like salt and pepper people of color or whatever to the programs is definitely there. That's why I said that I feel like TFI saving me in so many different areas. Having a youth international outreach program definitely saved my life in certain areas because it gave me a leeway to life to be able to open certain barriers and to be able to handle and accept certain challenges in my life as I am right now today.
I definitely want to come back to TFI and some of the programs that folks were involved in too before their post-secondary journeys too. Appreciate you sharing that. Alexandro, I would love to move to you. Would love to just hear a little bit about your transition to city colleges, and then what were some of the things that appealed to you about Year Up that actually led you to making that transition?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, going to community college was just financially made more sense. I got scholarships to go to 4-year universities, but they weren't enough to cover the cost. And I spoke with Mr. Jacob Kaplan, my mentor, and he told me, probably the financial choice for me. So I decided to go. Granted, this was the middle of the pandemic, so my experience is very unique because I ended high school and started college in the middle of the pandemic. So obviously everything's online. I haven't had any, no one knew how to use Zoom or anything. Everything was just kind of rough in a sense.
When it came to classes and getting enrolled, what were some of the pieces that you kind of were finding the most kind of confusing or kind of having the most trouble navigating?
It was excuse me, sorry. My classes were kind of all over the place sort of thing. I was trying to get as many credits to be a full-time student because at the time I was thinking, okay, I can do this year a little lighter, but enough to have a full-time to apply for my scholarship, but as well continue on with fall, maybe do a light summer and that's it, and then continue on for my just to complete on time. But middle of all my classes, I just got extremely just exhausted from all of them. It just didn't feel like I was going anywhere. I felt kind of like going back in circles. A lot of this stuff I kind of knew already from 10th grade, or some stuff I knew that were like, oh, that's interesting. How does it apply to what I want to do in life? So I kind of had that kind of I don't know what to go in life from college.
So it's having kind of a little bit of trouble connecting with kind of your future aspirations too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I definitely want to talk a little bit more about Year Up as well. But before we do, Robin, Arthur, I want to bring you all into the conversation as well. Both of you all started at 4-year universities. Could you share a little bit, Robin, I'd like to start with you, just a little bit about your arrival on campus and what were some of the things that made you start looking at exploring transfer options?
So can you hear me okay? Because I put my
We got
headphones
you.
in.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so I started Western, and I did not want to go there, but it was more of a, well, the money is here, don't have like, college is expensive. So I kind of had to settle. Still trying to go in with a positive attitude, but then like the more I was there, honestly, by like September, end of September, I was like, I can't stay here anymore. It just wasn't, it wasn't the vibe that I was looking for. Vibe is very like, that's a big word right now, but it wasn't. I just didn't feel completed. I didn't feel like opportunities were gonna really come to me. So I decided I was gonna transfer. After my second semester, I decided to transfer. And transferring from a PWI to a HBCU was a very big thing for me, because I knew that I wanted to go to one. I just didn't know which one. And it's kind of a sense of feeling at home when you transfer to a HBCU or when you go to HBCU. For people of color, I'm sure that you probably, but it makes you feel more comfortable. And also when I transferred, opportunities just started like coming out of woodwork. And so I was like, okay, maybe not so much that I had to transfer to a HBCU, but kind of just changing my surroundings, changing my environment kind of helped me see different things that could come to me, and made me want to do that. Going to a school that I wasn't really happy at, it showed in all aspects of me going to that school. And yeah, it was rough. So I definitely transferring definitely was the best choice for me.
Appreciate that. And Arthur, how about for yourself when you initially made your enrollment over at Valpo? What were some of the things that kind of helped you realize it might be time to make a change? I think we might have lost Arthur. See if we can get him back. It's all
Okay,
good.
well,
Oh, we can hear you. A little
for
bit.
me, it was, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We're having a little bit of a tough
Okay,
time.
all right, connect everybody. Okay.
Arthur, I might suggest you turn off your video and then we'll try to come back to you, okay? All right. Right. Let's see. We're gonna see if we can get some of the connection issues kind of figured out. We'll hopefully bring you back when we get you set. For
I'll make that a little better. Hold on one second.
okay,
Man.
all good.
Can you hear me? Or
Yeah, we can hear you a little
me?
bit better now.
Can you hear me?
Yep, it sounds like we can.
Okay, man.
It's all good.
Technical difficulties is crazy today.
It's
Man.
okay. Arthur, I'm gonna come back to you
But
real quick.
To answer your question, the only reason I even picked up, okay, no
All right.
problem.
Nice, man. We'll try to come back to you, all right? It's getting a little tough to hear you. So, while Arthur gets that settled out, I think one thing I would love to just hear from you all, would be curious about, so everybody kind of found themselves at this point when they needed to make this transition. However,
Okay.
what was some of the, what were some of the things that you all remember learning about the transfer process in high school, if anything? Anybody who wants to start, go ahead.
Nothing. I'm gonna be honest. Because in high school it was all about 4-year colleges and sticking through. Like no one talked about transferring. No one talked about the rate of transferring, how you can transfer. Like it was kind of like taboo when I did it. I didn't really know anybody that did it. So yeah, high school didn't really prepare me for that.
Is that similar for anybody else?
Like, okay, so we talking specifically like from high school to college, right? Or from college.
Again, more in your kind of, thinking back in high school when you were doing your initial kind of college exploration process, as you were,
I
participating in
just
different programs. How often did
honestly,
you guys talk about transfers?
I just honestly, like I knew exactly. Well, being in a program TFI, like they help you. Like it's definitely people here to help, and like that's what like I want like a lot of people to know that there is people out here to help you get to where you need to be. But sometimes it just takes that extra push or that extra guidance or for you to seek out to see who is there or what programs there to help you. TFI definitely helped me figure out what college was the best fit for me personally. What college was the best fit for me. How are they? Do they have I mean, we have visited majority of the colleges that like we wanted to potentially go to. So we had talked to alums, people that was currently going to the schools, just asking them about different perspectives. We even spent 3-4 nights at a time at each university just to get a feel for how the campus is. Knowing that what it is that we need to do as like people who is trying to go to potentially be on campus of this university. So we getting a feel of it, trying to figure out what it is that we need to do to make ourselves feel at home. Basically this is where we're trying to be for the next 4 years comfortably. So I definitely understand what she was saying as far as like trying to figure out yourself, because when you're at a university, you have to make sure that university is for you. And what I mean by for you is that I'm comfortable with going to class. I feel comfortable with passing a class. I don't feel like I need any help, but if I do need help, I feel comfortable with asking for it. So it's just putting yourself in that type of situation where you're very confident on all levels, to where you want to be to succeed. So I felt like that transition from high school to college was my transition was pretty smooth, but I know that I can't, some people can't relate because, I do understand that, certain high schools and different counselors, mentors, that things can be a whole lot different.
It sounds like you felt pretty prepared to even navigate as the transitions were happening. I definitely hear that. Alexandro, do you remember talking, any conversations about transfers, or also what was some of the, once you realized you were going to have to make a switch, what was kind of some of the process and how did you go about kind of navigating that process?
Honestly, for like us, transfers are primarily like focused on like going from a 2-year university to a 4-year university. So it wasn't really like, we probably did talk about them. I just have a fuzzy memory about it because it's been so long. But that's like the main thing that sticks out to me, were like transfers between, and I think the occasional like, hey, you could do a gap year program and then transfer over to a university. Like it was always kind of like, it was hyper like more focused on universities than like alternative programs, and usually that was like as a whole group as a whole, rather than like, I know individuals that like were talking about like, oh, I want to go to this program, and it was like a more one-on-one with with staff and etc. Like I know Kaplan had like one-on-ones with a couple of people about like the programs they want to do rather than the university.
And when you came up to your decision to recognizing that you wanted to make a transition, what was kind of your thought process, and how did you go about kind of navigating that process?
Honestly, my grades were slipping on. I wasn't feeling great at all. I just didn't want to get out. I was just going through a general slump at that time. And I decided to reach out to Jacob just because he was the one I knew I could trust the most on this kind of like, he works in this field, he has a lot of different connections to different people just to know what the right thing to do. He recommended Europe because, I told him everything I wanted, and he said recommended it because it's literally everything I would want in a program. I've been there for about, I think, like 10, 11 weeks now. It's overall been, it's tough, it's draining, but honestly, I love the work. I love the work that we're doing because I feel like I actually accomplished something rather than like, why am I taking this class that I feel like has no relation to what I want to do in life?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I want to start to also get into some questions that have been coming in the Q&A. We also encourage the audience, if you have more questions, please feel free to share them. So a couple of questions that have been coming up just around advice that you all have for, we have a lot of people on the call that are, actively counseling students around making this decision on where they want to go next fall. And what advice do you have for counselors or other guides to help them understand the realities of what students are going through and what students need in choosing a college? What do we think that, what are some of the things that you wish would have happened differently for you?
Can anybody hear me?
Okay, go ahead.
Let's go ahead. Arthur, I think we can hear you. So let's go ahead and give it a shot.
Okay, so what I think the counselors can really do for students to help them, like to guide them to their journey to college, I help them understand careers and what it takes to actually incorporate that. Like, it's cool to go to a big name school or to go like live the college life or whatever the case may be, gain the college experience, but the college is supposed to be a vehicle. Like if they don't understand what the career that they want to do, what they want to do with their life, then it doesn't matter what college that they go to. They need to understand what they like to do, what their talents are, what to explore life. Like I don't know I don't know how you can do that on the counselor side, but I feel like that's what like students need in this transition process.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate that. Robin, you were going to say something?
Yeah, kind of to what Arthur said. I'm going to say normalize going into college undecided and taking classes that interest you. Because I truly think it is crazy to try to make an 18-year-old figure out what they want to do for the rest of their life. Because things are constantly changing. This is coming from someone that has changed their major 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. So like, go if you want, go in undecided. Also encourage gap years, encourage those 2 years at community college and going to 4-year colleges to save money, yes. And also, again, take the cheaper route to try to figure out what you want to do. Like, don't try to, I don't want to say force because no one is forcing anyone to do anything, but we kind of just give this, or to me, when I was graduating high school, it was kind of like this tunnel vision type of journey. 4-year university, graduate, boom. No one was like, okay, 2 years, gap year. No one said go in undecided. Everyone's question was, well, what are you gonna major in? I don't know. Like you go in and you pick a major and you realize that is not what you want to do. Like, I don't want to be a doctor, actually. I want to be a teacher. So, just normalizing these things that are kind of like, in a way, looked down upon, because it doesn't fit the narrative of what people, I'm sorry if you can hear that. It doesn't fit the narrative of what everyone thinks you should be doing.
Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that reflection.
I just want to add to Robin, just basically say like I agree with her on that portion, because like it's very difficult not knowing what type of career path you want to go down. I think that what a help with career counselors, mentors, and everything like that is, I think that actually knowing or actually like getting to know your mentee, get to know them more, see what it is that they like, know some of they strengths and weaknesses. You know, if you know they want to go to a Big Ten college and you know for a fact that that's not a fit for them, actually being brutally honest to them sometimes. Hey, I know you want to go to Kentucky State, but you know, hey, this university have an equivalent program that you want to take up or that you want to study, you know, and oh, you know, would you like to do this, you know, as an option in this, you know, actually breaking it down. So like, you know, actually I do a little bit of mentoring. So it's kind of like, I can kind of relate to this a little bit because like when I'm mentoring someone, I want to see what it is that I can do to help them. But I also want to help without helping a little bit. You know, sometimes you give them that room where you're not taking over and you're giving them enough room to be able to live, you know what I mean, and feel like they actually doing something. And when you're helping them, you letting them know, hey, these are the resources that I found for you to get to where you want to be, you know. So you know, identifying and giving them, shooting out those resources, you know, as a mentor, you're doing a job as finding the resources because your mentee don't know. You know, so you combining those ideas, those everything that you have that you think that your mentee want. You know, okay, he want to go to a medical college, but he like to play basketball. You know, so maybe he can do this, maybe he can do that. You know, so just
trying to organize that process from their interests. Yeah,
organize it and I did put it into good plans and you know and actually say, hey, have you visited this college?
Sure.
You know, have you speaked out to anyone? Have you talked to someone? You know, to actually see if it's a good fit. You know, colleges do allow you to come and spend a night or two and you know walk around a campus, use the facility for a day or whatever. Like you know, go feel yourself, lay down there. This is where you think that you will potentially be for your next 4 years. You know, so
getting that real exposure.
Yeah, getting a very big exposure to that. So like I say, you know, just to piggyback on what Robin was saying, like I definitely agree with, you know, knowing and helping with someone helping you figure it out like what it is that you want to do.
Alexandra, I think you were going to jump into what were some pushes that you had for counselors or something that you were maybe hoping to see different about your high school experience?
Honestly, like just I like we're talking like I know some of the questions were about mainly about college, but like take a step back. Like is college the right choice for that person? Like maybe like again, like I'm in a gap year program, and with this program like I get college credit with the by the end of the 6 months, my first part, and then I get promoted to be an intern to get that real life experience because I've heard many times like you need 2 to 3 years of experience of a program like in order to get into an entry level job, you know. So having that experience is important. So like I personally I find that fits for me, but finding alternatives, maybe a better program is more fitting to that student rather than college. Like obviously college is always going to be an option rather than, you know, but a program maybe be the first step into like what they want to do. Maybe they find out I don't really like this path for some reason, and you know, like they can just step out of the program and find another path.
I really appreciate that. And I think it also highlights, you know, a portion of the report, you know, something that we don't have great insight into is we know if students are enrolled or not, but we don't always have great insight into a student like you who is involved in the program. You're making progress towards your goals, and I think definitely want to do some learning around that. So I appreciate that push. Arthur, yeah, you had something to add.
No, I wanted to actually agree with them because like sometimes some people don't know like colleges, you know, it's not what it claims to be. Like it's not always, it doesn't have to be a structured thing. Like you going to school, you of course you're gonna go to school, but I know for some females that they're doing lashes right now almost making 6 figures. Like it's all about figuring out what you like to do. Right. It's all about exactly taking opportunities, figuring out what you like to do. And I feel like just to go back on that, as far just to swing it back around to picking out colleges and actually going to them, like if you know what you're interested in, if you know what you're passionate about, if you know what you like to do, then as long as you're following that, you can't go wrong.
I appreciate that. I think there was some great pushes for counselors. I also want to kind of move to the other side, thinking about institutions that are receiving you as a student. Robin, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, you transitioned from from a 4-year to a 4-year. And you tell us a little bit about your arrival on campus. What were some of the, at Tennessee State, what were some of the things that you experienced as a transfer student that helped you feel settled, and what were some of the things that maybe you found a little tricky to navigate?
So let's see. Let's start with the tricky part. When I transferred, the hardest part was financial aid. Sadly, HBCUs are known for their financial aid struggles, and I quickly learned it was very real. Long lines and everything else, getting housing, like I guess the basic things was the biggest struggle. It was also a little hard making friends, but that could be because I was a transfer, but it could also be because I am an awkward person, and I'm going to admit that. So it was a little rough, but just like getting settled into community, I quickly was able to, like, they have TSU had something called the Women's Center. I was able to walk in, sit down, join in on conversation, something that I didn't feel comfortable doing at my previous institution. And just the atmosphere, it's open. Like, it makes you smile, it makes you happy. Like, you got the band playing while you're walking to camp or while you're walking to class. You have Courtyard Wednesdays where they bring out a DJ and we have different booths or different orgs on campus. Like, it's just a totally different feel, and something that I wasn't used to, but something that I quickly adapted to because I was like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel. Like, I'm supposed to be happy. I'm supposed to be, going to different things on campus and feeling like I can contribute or feel like I can have fun, even if it's by myself. That was another thing as a transfer. I kind of was forced into learning how to be okay with being by myself, which is something that everyone should learn. But it kind of came a little bit quicker than I thought it would. But yeah, that was a lesson for me. I'm happy that I had to learn it though, because it just makes me feel a little bit more confident in myself in general and the things that I'm able to do. Yeah.
I appreciate that. Kind of picking up on that push. This is a question that's coming in the chat. How do you think colleges can help students make the right choice that a school is for them? And also, what is some of the information that you wish you would have had about you at your first institution?
I guess I'll answer that. So I mean, I think that like I say, it boils back down to going into an institution and seeing what kind of help is on campus. Like, you going into an institution blindfolded where you don't know no one, and if you go there and you say, hey, like, I want to speak with a counselor or a mentor or somebody, if you speak with them, hopefully they'll be able to break down the university to you. Hey, this is this, and this is what you, and then this is, at that point, that's where you have the opportunity. That's where you have the opportunity to talk to them and say, hey, I want to, my hopes and everything is to go into this class, and, what type of, or do you know someone that have taken this class before? So that I would know the expectations of this class. Okay, they got to do this, and they have to do clinicals, and they have to do, so knowing people and actually, getting that connection, it rolls back to, seeking out to colleges and trying to figure out, what type of help that they have, because that's an area where you need that. That's where you need help. Hey, I have a funny time with figuring out what it is that I'm trying to do or where I'm trying to place myself. And if you go into a class that you have no idea about, you're not going to enjoy it at all. Now here you is dropping a class. You dropping a class to try to figure out, what it is that you're trying to do within your career. And you got to try to figure out, like, okay, is this class best for me? Do it fit me? At what standpoint am I going to enjoy it? So
Yeah.
I think that's knowing, going to the institution and finding a counselor to be able to break that type of important stuff down to you is very big.
I appreciate that. Arthur, how about for you? Go ahead, Robin.
Oh, I was actually going to ask if I can answer Raven's question.
Yeah. Yeah,
okay,
sure.
So she said, what are the tips we can give to students who do go into college undecided? I think the concern is that a student might go in and be unfocused or not know how to seek support in finding a major / career path. So the thing with this is it is okay to go in undecided. And most institutions for freshmen, they kind of have these things set in place because they know you might not know what you want to do. So I know for TSU, the freshman, like, I don't know what to call it, cohort building, like there is a whole section on campus dedicated to freshmen, helping them figure out what they want to do. But when it comes to being undecided, that's when you have to kind of go inside and figure out like what interests you. And that does not have to be because you want to, what interests you does not have to become your major, does not have to become your career, but taking the time to figure out those classes. Like, I like art, take an art class. I like music, take a music class, because you never know, that teacher that is teaching that class may kind of spark something in you. And that kind of happened with me when I took a education class, because I knew I wanted to work with kids, I didn't know how. And my teacher literally, like, it was a light bulb. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. And ever since I made that change, everything has gone so smoothly for me in school. So don't go in kind of like, I don't want to be unfocused and things like that. You're not going to be unfocused. The only way that you can become unfocused is if you don't care, pretty much. Because in college, there's always something that you can do to kind of cultivate your future in a way. Internships you can do, going around, like wherever you go to school, there are clubs for these different things. If you don't know what you want to do, join a club that has this type of focus or whatever, and you'll eventually be able to kind of figure these things out. So it's fine to go in undecided and just look around where you are, use your resources, and I'm sure that you will be fine. You won't be unfocused at all.
Right.
Yeah, go, please.
Okay, so I want to piggyback off of what Ray, and I also want to wrap it back around to the question that you asked Hakeem as well. So I completely agree with Robin and everything she said about going in and doing things that you like, going to actual college and being honest with yourself about what you like to do and what makes you happy. I think that mentality is not talked about enough, because as I know for me, going from even in high school, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I was so focused on the fact of what I want to do for the rest of my life that I wasn't thinking about what actually made me happy. Like, I was taking a whole bunch of college classes and trying to figure it out. And it was just, I'm just doing these things. I'm not doing these things that that I'm looking forward to, or that I can do, like something that is close to me. I definitely agree with her on that one. And to wrap it back around into the question that you asked, Hakeem, I in my opinion, I feel like as from a point of colleges, I think they can stress that a little bit more, instead of just, giving you classes to fill out requirements, to just fill out just to keep you on track to graduate in like 4 years. But in all honesty, if you have a degree like engineering or anything like that's, gonna take you about normally 5 or 6 years to get it done, just because it's like, no matter whether you prepare for it or not, like it's all new information to you. It's a whole different thing. But I feel like colleges can really stress the fact of, you know, what do you like to do? Like what take classes that you like to do? Like, yeah, like of course filling out requirements and like getting people through college and getting them finished and getting all that figured out. Yeah, that's important, but it's still a process as well.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. I want to recognize that I told you I was going to go quick, but we're actually coming up on time. I do want to close with a question. I'd really like to try to get around to everybody to hear, if we can. But just, thinking about where you're at right now, what have you learned about yourself by navigating, your post-secondary careers to this point? How have your experience kind of helped you grow? Alexandro, if you don't mind, I'd love to start with you.
Honestly, like just being in a program that like I'm connecting with them, I'm in group chats with a bunch of like my peers and everything. Like I feel that connection, and that's what I really needed. Just because like a lot of us said like if we're getting burned out, luckily we're like getting our week break, so like we're feeling like we're like hoping like that last minute stretch of like just to wrap out the first part. Like it's honestly, I've learned more about like what I'm really interested in. I'm like, I know for a fact I'm really interested into information technology. I met a lot of friends that are also like, I've learned that I'm a strong leader when it comes to like leading projects and just knowing what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are. It's like I can make sure everyone stays on track and allocate.
Love it.
Just having an ability to like, I probably would have learned that like 4 or 5 years into college, if anything, or maybe my first like month looking for a job or for a path afterwards. But I learned that now rather than like years later.
That's great. What else for the rest of us? What's something that how you think your experience has helped you grow?
I guess I can go next. To actually piggyback off of what he said. You definitely have to figure out what you like and what you're passionate about, and nobody can really tell you that. People can only really give you options, and they can give you the different avenues, whatever you want to call it, but that's all that they can really give you. They can give you these options. It's up to you to figure out what you want to do, what you like. And I think that's the best thing I learned about my post-secondary, like just figuring out, especially my major, my major is information technology as well, cybersecurity. And that's something that I really enjoy, but that's not like all that I put my time into. That's not the only thing I enjoy. And I think that's another thing as far as your post-secondary as well. Just it's okay to be doing multiple things at a time. Like it's okay to not have it all figured out. Like to still be working it out and figuring it out as you keep going. Like all of that is okay. Like I think that's what the one thing I
Appreciate that.
My post-secondary.
Thank you.
I think what I can say is the best thing, well, two things. One, I learned perseverance for myself because I didn't know I had it until I had to have it. And two, just being sure in yourself, like, for example, again, me becoming a teacher, everyone's in my ear. You're not going to make any money. You're not going to do this. You're not like, and it's just like, okay, yeah, I know teachers don't make any money. They're very much underappreciated, but I know that this is something I'm passionate about. So whatever you choose to do, whatever move, gap year, 4-year, 2-year, be confident in that and stick to it. Know why you're doing it, and try not to let other people's words kind of get in your ear about that choice that you're making. Like be confident in yourself, and that confidence is going to take you a very long way.
Love it. Hakeem, you got the last word. We got 1 minute. What's one thing you've learned about yourself on this journey?
Definitely what everybody else was saying, like be very confident. Definitely know what it is that you want to do with yourself. Like, I mean, man, like don't let anyone take, your overall goal away from you, you know, because there is certain, like college will do it for sure. Like, you know, it amazes me how many times people switch up their majors because they don't think or they don't feel that they can complete something, you know. So definitely, you know, have some confidence. You know, my past has definitely like helped me experience and grow. You know, now I'm at the point, you know, and I always stress this to everyone that I talk to, you know, if you're at the point where you think and you feel like you're growing and you're getting somewhere, help someone else out. You know, there's someone else that was struggling the same way you was, you know, so, you know, at least, you know, some type of words, either if it's words of encouragement or if it's just, you know, simply telling them like, you know, you can get through this, you got it, you know, because sometimes your words is the first words and the best words that people hear on a day-to-day basis. Some people don't hear, you know, you got it, you know, keep going, it's all right, you know, you failed, get back up, you know. Sometimes people don't understand that. Sometimes when when they hear that they fail, they just hear, okay, you fail, so what, you know. So it's like, you know, having that extra backbone, having that extra person to be like, hey, you failed, it's all right, get up, you know, I failed too, you know, the same way, you know. So just, you know, my past and everything like that is helped. My experience have definitely helped me grow, and I'm at the point where I'm getting others to, and I'm essentially helping others get to where they want to be and grow in life.
Appreciate that. I think it's a great final word to end on. And thank you for bringing us back to this idea of relationships. You know, I think this work is fundamentally about, you know, supporting each other, again, trying to help, you know, make sure that we have access to information and options, and helping each other navigate that. So thank you. I also just want to thank all of our panelists for just your transparency, your honesty, and honestly, just getting a chance to speak with you all over the past couple of weeks just have been incredibly inspired by your determination, and the fact that you all just are not stopping. So thank you. Thank you for being that model. Thank you for sharing your expertise. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and again, looking forward to continuing this conversation at later points. So thank you all.